Hello everybody, good evening. I'm just going to light some candles and just see if, give it a few moments for people to log on to find us. Did I burn my fingers? Oh, burning my fingers this evening. Oh, good evening. Just lighting my candles like I usually do for myself first. For community, whoever's going to be watching this evening. Particularly anybody who's going through loss and grief at this time, or have suffered with loss and grief and are maybe still feeling the effects of it now, even if it was a long time ago. And hi Carly. And this is for Spirit, for again Christian this evening. And I don't know if there's been lots of loads and loads of activity around me the last week or so, particularly the last few days. So I'm not sure if there's going to be somebody else apart from Christian coming in today. I'm not sure. We'll see how it goes, I guess. But anyway. Okay, today, or this evening, we talked last week, I should say, hello, my name's Hannah Velton. I'm a writer and spirit messenger, and I work with my brother who's in spirit, Christian, to pass on messages of, we're here to sort of guide people through grief and loss. Christian went missing in 2003 in Africa, and it took 15 years for Christian and I to connect and find out that he'd actually died in 2003 and that he'd been sort of in limbo ever since. But now we have a very close relationship. Again, it's like it's been rekindled relationship. Obviously, it's different because he's not here physically, but sorry, you'll understand the voice in a minute. But he's very much part of my life, and he's around a lot at the moment. But we'll explain it a bit more as we go on. Last week Christian sort of came a bit more into my voice. So that was his sort of presence here. I think that's probably going to happen again today. I've had the last 10-15 minutes, my throat has started to tighten up, so it's quite difficult to speak sometimes. So he's definitely here, and actually I think he wants to lead this evening. So once I've just done the introduction, then I'll hand over to him, I think. So last week I introduced our story and a bit about us and what we plan to do from now on in terms of the work that we're going to do together. And it's all going to be about healing and growing after loss. So it's my experience of losing Christian and then finding him and the work that we now do, and Christian's perspective from spirit. He's very much Christian, very much the same brother as he always was, but he knows a lot more. Obviously now he's passed over. He moved from limbo to where he should be properly. So He's obviously got a lot more knowledge. He's the same but different. He knows things now. He searched a lot in life for answers to hi Sarah, searched in life a lot for the big answers, and to try and find the answers to the big questions in life while he was alive, and for various reasons which I think we're going to touch on this evening, he never quite managed to get those answers that he wanted. But obviously now he's in a place where he knows all the answers, and he's going to pass on some information to help anybody else who wants to get in touch with loved ones in spirit. That seems to be the way it's happening. I didn't think it was going to be like this, but bear with me and we'll see where this goes. So yeah, Christian, as I just said, Christian wanted to lead this evening. Okay, how are we going to do this? Okay, I'm just going to say what he says, so it makes it easy. It might not be terribly strong. First of all, it takes a while for the connection to come in, but so he says, good evening. He knows there's lots of people in the community who are watching from the sidelines. They were following the community because of a sister's love for her brother, and her brother's quite an interesting chap, good looking, he's laughing, an adventurer, and we both, so Christian and I both touched people's hearts with the long search and seemingly never-ending search that I did for him. So there was a lot of people who originally joined the community for that. Then the news comes that Christian's actually dead, and I know that because he told me, because we're talking together. Obviously that caused quite a lot of shock in the community. I mean, it shocked me, let alone anybody else watching. It shocked an awful lot of people, he said, and there's a lot of people uncomfortable with this truth. It's our truth. He's very much alive, but just in another room, where he keeps saying it's just like in another room. And we now, between Christian and I, we now have this, it's like a telephone connection, I guess, this telephone line. But he's saying there's, people don't believe it. Well, there's lots of, no, that's not true, sorry. Some people believe it. In fact, there's quite a few okay, he's very happy actually, because there's quite a few people who are very close to me who are supporting me, who believe totally in this. Lots of Christians' friends. They're believing. They're a bit unsure still, but he's hoping that doing these conversations will, he's saying, prove to people that he's alive still, and that through me at the moment he can speak. He's really hoping that people will talk to him directly like I do. And he knows, yeah, I met one of Christian's best friends last week, and he's desperate to speak to Christian. And he knows there are people who really want to talk to him. But they don't know how. And there are other people who, yeah, it's like there's a split in the community between people who, hi Tara, there's a split in the community between people who want to believe that I speak to Christian, and there's people who don't believe that I speak to Christian, but they're still here just kind of interested. Hi, Caroline. And there are people here who are waiting to watch me fall, to make an ass of myself. Oh, he says there's plenty of them. But hello anyway. I'm glad you're here if you're one of those. But he says we're going to prove to people that loss is just an illusion. So let's begin. So if you've just joined, Christian's leading this one this evening. I got quite a lot of downloads and things. I've had so many dreams this week. Oh my God. And I've had to wake up and write things down. And all the dream, I used to dream and not understand dreams at all. And in the last few months, I've really had lots of like really quick succession dreams, and it wakes me up and I have to write them down, and I understand now. I've kind of learnt how my dreams work. I think everybody's, oh, he's saying now, yeah, everybody dreams differently. So you might get common themes that you dream about a lot. One of my dreams, he's saying, tell them about this dream that I've had for, well, I don't say since he went missing, but since we've been sort of connecting, since about 2016, I have this house that I live in, and it's the most amazing house. It's like a what is it? It's kind of like a Gothic Elizabethan mansion, and this house has everything in it that I could possibly want. And then I go into one of the rooms, and there's damp, like the whole roof is falling in. It's like the big main hall usually. It's like the biggest hall in the main room in the house, and it's like everything is so perfect about this house, but you actually go into it, really into the heart of it, and it's all falling down. You know, there's rain coming through the roof, there's mould up the walls, there's everything. And this was a dream I had repeatedly. I mean, you know, every few months, and only recently has the house now turned into this beautiful house that is not leaking. It's not it's not falling down, and I guess that's my healing. This house was my inside, I guess, but now it's healed and it's at peace and it has all it needs. Anyway, there we go. What were we saying? Sorry, I went off on a tangent there. Right, let's get started. Yeah, sorry. Have a drink, yes, my throat. Oh, he's bossy. Got lots of talking to do, apparently. Okay, the first thing, I'm going to just talk because it's just coming out. Okay, the first thing, if people want to talk to their loved ones, he said everyone can do it. Hannah's worked really hard to be able to do this, and I have. I mean, it's like 18 months of work, really, to be fair. Although I had a lot to heal first and to grow first before we start to teach. But I can teach you from, he's saying, we can teach you from right from the start, the real basics. Tonight we're going to cover the real basics of connecting with spirit. Don't be scared. There's lots of people that are scared, and there's people watching you. There's people watching here who are unsure of whether they really want to connect to a loved one in spirit. They want to, but actually the reality of it is actually quite mind-blowing. Yeah, it is mind-blowing. Yeah, it is mind-blowing. We're both saying that. I mean, it is. It's you know, you kind of know that mediums can do it. But this is, I'm not, well, I am a medium now. I've become one, but anyone can do this. Everyone has it in them to be able to contact a loved one in spirit. It's magical in a way, but only in that there's an intent. So I guess this is the first thing we need to talk about, isn't it? Okay, so first thing. So we're going to talk about the basics how to get in contact, to make that contact in spirit. We're not going to particularly talk about... so this is like the preparations, I guess. We'll do in the next video. We'll do more on the actual what happens. But this one is very much the preparations to connecting in spirit. So, first one's really important, is intent. Sorry, I don't have to keep drinking. Yeah, so there's a lot of people who want to connect in spirit to their loved ones in spirit, but something's holding them back. Fear is the main thing. Being scared. What's going to happen? Is speaking to my loved one in spirit going to open the door to loads of people coming to talk to me from spirit? No, is the short answer to that. You choose who you want to speak to in spirit. So intent is really important. I don't know if you can see in the background, there's Christian's... I might just bring it to him. That's a picture of him graduating from Edinburgh. He did 4 years up there and got a BSc in zoology. Anyway, this picture of him. This is all part of intent. I also have his christening mug. Mum would be furious because it's not even cleaned for you. And I also have a belt. His belt. Dad was going to throw this out, and I grabbed it and got it from him. So intent. I had. I built a little ritual area, like an altar, I guess. In this, my family are not. I have to be very subtle, shall I say, about how I go about my work. And Christian's laughing. I know. In joke. So the intent is very much having the person in your mind who you want to connect with. This is obviously using photographs of them, a belt, a mug, things that belong to them is important as far as I can tell. Making a little area which is just for them that you can kind of use as your space where you come and you sit next to them almost in a way, or you can hold the items, but it's very much intent. It's very much focusing on the person that you want to contact. Much like if you have a dream in life, but it's kind of like, oh, well, I hope one day I'll be doing this. It's not going to happen. Hope, as I've said in the ebook, doesn't bring concrete results. Might guide you for a bit, but you have to have a real focus on what you want to do. I spent 18 months focusing on getting my brother back home. That was my focus. I mean, people will tell you I was completely obsessed by it. My husband will tell you I was defined by getting my brother home. You know, totally focused on it. Apart from obviously normal family living and kids and my gorgeous family. and looking after everybody and work and everything. But when I could, I was obsessed. I think you can see that from social media, well, from the Facebook page, the community. Yeah, and if I hadn't been as obsessed, then none of this would have been happening. Which is why Christian always, he's saying now, that's, he's so grateful, because I could have quite easily, when things weren't going right, it's very, very easy, when the social media search didn't work, when, you get hit brick walls all the time. You're very focused, you have the intent, but actually so many things can bash you out of your intent. And it's, if you only have hope on something, all the obstacles, really will knock you off course easily, and you'll give up. But I had a true focus on finding him. I don't think you need to be quite obsessed as I was in finding Christian, but I didn't know whether he was alive or dead. I mean, we had no news at all for 13 years really. So we had to, Sarah, we had to know. Yeah, it's just finding out what had happened to him, because we had no news. So there was no good news, no bad news. So limbo, awful place. God, awful place to be. But yeah, thankfully, something in me, I realised after 13 years, something happened. Spirit gave me a nudge, and I knew that I had to find him. Early search, it had always been parents and Christian's friends who had done the searches, and I think we talked about that last week. I was very much out in Cornwall and pretty much in a different country effectively, but yeah, a few years ago it was definitely my turn to step up, having had my family, they started school, and it was now definitely, they'd all both started school, and it was now definitely my turn to find him. So firstly, very important is intent. You have to focus on the person you want to connect to. No wishy-washy. You have to really be focused on that. Don't be scared of it. The fear, there's a lot of the fear around this. This is, I guess, point number 2. The fear around this. I think because I was so desperate to get hold of Christian that I wasn't. I was fearful of stepping into. What was I fearful of early on? The unknown. Not being able to see stuff. I mean, my God, in this world we want to be able to see stuff. We want to have proof of stuff. It's very difficult to carry on without having proof of something. Physical proof. And I guess Christian's saying the whole point of these videos are going to be that you don't need physical proof to have a connection. It's in your heart. It's not a physical thing. You can't see it. You can't taste it. You can't touch it. You can't. Oh, you do. You sense it. No, he's saying you do. You sense it, but it's in your heart. It's not something that you can show somebody. It's not something that you can prove to somebody if they're not open to listening. It's very easy for somebody to go, "You're talking absolute nonsense. You're not talking to whoever, or you're not contacting your loved one in spirit." But you shouldn't have any fear. This is Christian speaking. You shouldn't have any fear of this, because you won't be introduced to spirit until you're ready. Until you open up, we, as in Christian, can't come through. So we're in control. So me, us here in the physical, we're in control of this channel, whether it's open or not. and that's the fear. You shouldn't. He's saying there's several things that you shouldn't fear. Number one is that you're in control of this. You won't be asked to do this until you're ready, and it will be done. I'm getting a real heat in my back. This will only be done. Is that something I should mention? Okay. It will only be done in gradual increments. You'll get gradually accept what's happening, and it'll be more and more. You'll be more and more open to it. It's not a frightening thing. If it is a frightening thing, it's your fear. But we'll explain that in a minute, apparently. So it'll all be done slowly at your time. A lot of the heat in my back that I'm feeling now is actually, I think, is a sign for me to tell you that we talked about it last week, but this was the first sign of spirit trying to get hold of me, was this heat in my back. So it will often be a physical sensation that you'll have. You'll have, the last few days I've been going from, I get chills, like total full body chills, and then I'll get a real warmth, and it's been intermittent with this for the last few days. It's a sign that things are changing within you. You're becoming maybe more open to. It's maybe the intention you maybe start to set the intention, and then spirit will come and give you a little gentle nudge. It's really opening up your senses, because we used to live in a house in Maresfield, actually, and every time my husband put on the golf, because he's an avid golf fan, I used to smell cigar smoke. And apparently there was a man who lived in the house long before us, who used to enjoy watching golf, and obviously we put the TV on, and he was around. You could smell. Always could smell this cigar smoke when the TV went on. But things like that. So smell, hearing, sight, touch, feelings, things like that. But it's not to be feared. If you're feeling fear as you're beginning to open up, so you have your intention, and then you start to open up to the sort of bodily sensations that you get, or you'll start to notice repeating numbers. That's a good one. You'll notice songs on the radio that suddenly come on. You'll notice things in conversation. You'll notice white feathers. Mine was always white feathers. Little white feathers everywhere, in not just outside, but in unusual places, or you'll suddenly think, oh, that's an unusual place to see a feather. But there'll be little signs. What else might you have? You might have... trying to think what else I have. Oh, animals. I'm very nature-based. My spirituality, I guess, is very nature-based. So I'll see certain animals repeatedly. And if you look up what those animals, seeing them repeatedly means, you can see them in the wild. You can see them in images. You can see them wherever or reading about them or anything like that. But yeah, looking on the internet, you'll have the spirit animals. It'll tell you exactly what their meaning is if you see them a lot. But yeah, so whoever you have in spirit, they will be with the intention of connecting with them. They will start to give you clues, like give you, what's a better word for it? Intuitions. You have to start using your intuition. It's like the little voice or the gut feeling, or you'll just get a feeling that somebody's trying to poke you, I guess, or somebody's trying to get your attention. But this happens, I mean, a lot of people, he's just saying, a lot of people think you have to be sitting quietly and meditating and, you know, at peace to be able to do this connection. But actually he's saying, as long as you're in a place of love, which we'll talk about in a minute, you can just be doing stuff that you love doing. So you can be playing the piano, anything that relaxes you, anything that you love doing, anything that's kind of repetitive, that almost, yes, Caroline, yes. Anything that kind of takes you out of yourself. You could be just even reading and something comes into your mind. You know, you suddenly get, yeah, like Caroline's mentioned, it's like insights. You suddenly know something, or it's like somebody's dropped something into your fully formed into your head. You might start to get, I'm just trying to think, what else did I get a lot of? Oh, dreams. Yeah. Okay. So dreams. Oh, we talked about dreams a bit earlier. And I talked last week about my lucid dreaming. So so it's really dreaming, but you're really awake. Oh, it's sort of that in between, but you interact with the person. I quite regularly meet Christian in lucid dreaming, and we would always hug, and it's like I could feel him. There was something on a television program, Louis Theroux. I don't know if anyone watched last week, and it was about suicide, planned suicide. And one of the ladies had lost her husband, and she was saying to Louis that at night she could feel his heartbeat next to her, and she could feel holding hands. That's one thing very much. I could feel Christian holding my hand. And at one point we'd been holding hands, and when I got up and walked the dog in the morning, he was still with me. He was like a presence. This was really quite early on, actually. He was like a presence, and I remember he was so real there that I went and we came back in from the walk, and I showed him around the garden. This was in 2016, I think. So there's lots of different things, but again, that was a gradual. So all these things were very gradual, and it didn't feel unnatural, and it wasn't frightening at all. If you get any time where you're frightened of what you're receiving, then it's not your loved one, it's your, what's he saying? It's your fear. Oh, there's no such thing as the devil. There's no such thing as curses. There's no such thing as evil spirits. It's all your fears. We need to talk about fears. Okay. When I first started to start receiving, the heat in my back and things like that, I would often see I called it a black bat, and it would kind of flutter in and out of my face, I guess, and it was usually it would be at night, so it would be like in a dream, and I was in fact, I was very fearful of this black bat. But it was more my fears that were starting to, when it first started happening, it was fearful, I have to be honest, because I didn't know what it was. I didn't know what was going on. And the kind of like rational brain, not the rational brain, your mind, your ego. He's just saying here, it can't cope with the mental process that you have to go through to start accepting these sensations as something outside of yourself that you can't see. So your brain is trying to stop all this happening. It kind of stops the access, and it makes you feel that you're always separate. So a big bit of fear is actually makes you feel separate from your loved one. Okay, this is a big point. We've come a bit around the houses to it, but fear. Fear sees people as, if you're in a fearful position, and this usually happens when I can put myself straight back into that fearful position of thinking that you've lost someone. Somebody's died, you've lost them, and that's it forever. You're separate from them now. Like the connection has been cut. That's a fearful thought. That's from the fearful thought that thinks, and the ego thinks, right, it's separate, you're all alone. Now you have no connection with them. You have everything that's in the past is all still there, but you have no present and you have no future with this loved one. That's a fearful thought. That's the main fearful thought that needs to be basically removed, turned into a loving thought, which is that we are all connected. Physical death is not a loss. You're still connected. You still have that bond. Still exists, and it exists past the physical. Fear keeps you separate. It's the biggest hurdle. It's the biggest hurdle for people to get over because it's so ingrained in the Western world. We're brought up to be fearful in this world where you have to fight to get what you need. Competition. To get what you want to get, somebody else has to get less. Yeah, it's like resources. Love, there's not enough love for everybody. There's not enough resources for everybody. You have to climb on top of people to get where you want to be. That was kind of the world Christian was brought up in. Christian, he's just saying he was fearful on many levels. yeah, this is an important bit. Yeah, connecting with he always, I think I said earlier, he always wanted answers to big questions in life, and he never quite got there. When he was in the Caribbean, he lived in the Rasta community. He lived within the Rasta community when he was first out in the Caribbean. He was out there studying the fauna and flora of the Caribbean islands. He was writing a book about it. But he lived with the locals, with the Rasta community. Their spirituality, a lot of it was based in ganja, the plant, smoking the plant, dried plant. And Christian got... It's okay. It was... you have to remember he's saying, you have to remember I was part of the Rasta community. That was how I was living in the Caribbean. And everybody smoked it. It was part of their spirituality. He thought that by also smoking, it would release something in him, so it would give him a clarity in life, answering the big questions in life, reaching his, sort of gaining a spirituality, like everybody else around him, but it didn't work for him. A lot of the time he got very paranoid from smoking the ganja. And the point of him telling us this is that when you try and when you're coping with loss and you've had a big traumatic, especially if it's a sudden loss, if you've had a big traumatic loss, it's very easy to drown yourself in drugs, in alcohol, in stuff that blocks the pain. Which I know about. He says he's being honest. Yeah, alcohol was not my friend for quite a long time. Especially at the beginning. When he went missing, first of all. But the point is that drugs, alcohol, whatever you take to numb the pain actually adversely affects the connection. You need a clear channel. Taking substances that cloud the channel don't work. If you want to connect with your loved one, and my friends will tell you this, I stopped drinking for about 6 months. I can't remember when it was, last year. And everyone was very concerned because, alcohol and drinking is all part of being sociable, isn't it? And I had been a big drinker, but I stopped. I was told to stop by Spirit, and I stopped for about 6 months, And that was the period when I really connected with Christian. I was asked to stop, and I did. In fact, every time I even went near alcohol, I felt sick. It was amazing. It was brilliant. I can drink now, in moderation, but it's just, you need to have that clear channel. Something else about the fear. Yeah, fear is all in the mind. If you haven't downloaded the ebook, please do, because it's on the pinned post on the front page. It's free until the end of tomorrow. But there's a lot in there about fear and fearful thoughts and how to change them into loving thoughts. And it really is just a case of turning your thoughts. So switching from, like we said, we're all separate, to we're all connected. I've lost this person. I haven't lost this person. What's another good one? This thing is happening to me, when actually this thing is happening for me. So there's a lot of moving. It's fearful. It's like fear really chokes you. It chokes the life out of you. It keeps you small. It keeps you under control, Christian says. It's like people, the society isn't set up for people to be brave and stand up and tell their truth, and to be individuals, and to share love. And he's really angry about that. And in fact, everybody in spirit is really angry about it. This is not how it was meant to be. We were all supposed to... it's the big experiment. We'll talk about that another time. It's too much for now. But anyway, fearful thoughts, they come from you, from inside you. Part of connecting with your loved one in spirit is having inner strength, trusting yourself, trusting what you feel. It's a massive amount of what you feel. Gut feelings, a little voice inside, bodily sensations. Recognizing that things that seem to happen by coincidence are not coincidence. They're synchronized events that are happening for you. And don't let anyone tell you that, this is deadly serious, don't let anyone tell you that what you're feeling isn't true. So if you feel like somebody's holding your hand while you're asleep, or while they are holding your hand. And a lot of this is like people like me who will stand up and say this now. I've got no fear of saying this now. And it makes other people feel less alone. It makes, if I say it, other people will trust themselves. It's like if you're talking, I don't know, anything in life, if you can share the experience with somebody, if it's something that you don't normally talk about to friends and people around you, but you know, you read a book where somebody's actually saying this, and you're like, oh yeah, okay, I'm not alone. Somebody else is feeling this, and it kind of gives you it builds a faith in yourself. A lot of this connecting with spirit is a lot about building faith in yourself and your relationship with your loved one. Okay, gunk. Another big thing. So you've got your intention. You've got rid of your fearful thoughts. You're focused. There's no alcohol. There's nothing blocking the channel. The only other thing which is going to block the channel between you and your loved one is how are we saying this? Skewed love, like love, but a bit skew-if. Is that right? It's like gunk, a bit of gunk on the line. Think of it like a telephone line. It's in your heart, and there's static on the line. It's not quite clear. So all I can talk about, Christian's saying, just talk about my experience. So I talked last week about there was a big lack of trust between Christian and myself, because it goes back to childhood when we were at the same school, and then he left to go to a different school, and then he started boarding weekly, and then started full boarding, and I was still left at home, and I had that grief back from then, that he'd left me, that he wasn't coming back, and he'd left me. And me aged 8 or 9, 10, took that on board, and carried it. So when Christian then goes missing now, and we kind of missed each other a lot in life anyway, with him travelling and me travelling and doing uni and what have you. So when he actually did go missing, a lot of my my thoughts were, he's never coming back. He's done it before. And that's it. He's not coming back. And that was a major block for us. Getting really strong head. Something's coming. It's like if you had a difficult relationship in the physical, it doesn't mean it will be difficult when they pass over. This is from Christian's side. When you pass over, everything becomes clear. He's saying you see life clearly. You understand everything. You understand how you treated people. You understand how people treated you and why they treated the way they did. Oh, it's massive. He says it's really hard when you first pass over. And he says that's why he was away for quite a while. Well, weeks, but because he had to... Oh, he's making me feel really sad. Sorry. Because he had to, like, review his life. He had to see where he'd gone wrong. And he went massively wrong. Latterly. Which I guess is what happened to him in Africa. Which I know about, but you don't need to know about at the moment. But the purpose of the review is not it's not to make, he's not telling us that, he's not telling me that for me to feel bad. It's just a fact. It's what happens. So he's basically saying that when people pass over to spirit, they have a review. They have like, everything becomes clear to them. They understand stuff. They forgive stuff. They understand where they've gone wrong. And in many cases, people in spirit want to make amends for what they've done in life. But he says, understandably, if you've had a difficult relationship with somebody in the physical and they pass over, you still in the physical are not going to be open to connecting with them yeah, okay, we can all understand that. And he says that's a real shame, because it would heal people in the physical if they could connect with their loved ones in spirit, to know that realizations have happened, apologies need to be given. He's saying a lot of loving embraces can be given through the connection, and it would heal a lot of people if they could move past the fear, and it would make a lot of people in spirit happy to be able to make amends. And it would also impact on the future generations in the physical. There's often, if you have a bad relationship in the physical, particularly with a caregiver, the repercussions of that can be felt for many generations after, in the way that you act with your children, grandchildren, Anyway, he's saying there's whole queues of people up here who want to apologise, to make amends. It's like they kind of see the errors of their ways. But again, that's going to land with whoever needs to hear that. But if you've had a extremely loving relationship, and the love is unconditional. I read a good quote and I've left it downstairs. What's Christian going to tell me? Let me just see. Oh, can't see. Oh, what was it? Sorry. Oh yeah, the meaning of unconditional love is the giving of yourself without thought of receiving love back. So it's like a there's no limitations based on the love that you give. There's no conditions based on it. It's endless. It's eternal. It's a big love. It's a love which very few have. I got to the point with Christian where I had to do a lot of looking back at our relationship and understanding both of our behaviours, where our behaviours had come from, where our thought patterns had come from, and there was a lot of forgiveness. There was a freeing of it. A lot of it was to do with at one point I was sure that Christian knew that I was onto him, and that he was actually, if you read back through all the posts I did on the community page, on this page, I was so sure that he was reading the posts that I was writing, and he just wasn't coming forward. And there was a lot of anger in me that was blocking the communication. When I look back now, there was a lot of anger. I think there's still a lot of anger around Christian, toward people's. I think that's why he was sad at the beginning. There's a lot of there was a lot of anger towards him. Why the hell's he done this trip anyway? And now he's gone and got himself lost, or whatever. There was a lot of anger, and I think that's part of grieving as well. Everyone grieves differently. Everybody's different, but there's certain stages. I think it's Kubler-Ross, psychologist, sort of identified, I think it was five stages of grief that you go through, and one of them's definitely the sort of anger. So I think when somebody, a loved one, passes over, there's a lot of different emotions that brings up in people. You might be angry with them for leaving you behind. Especially, depends how it all depends on the death, I guess. And the relationship that you had in the physical. But a lot of it is clearing this gunk. Is that you have to look at this anger. You can't deny what you're feeling towards the person that's passed over. If you're feeling angry with them, bloody get it out of your system. Admit it. Write them a letter. Tell them how bloody angry you are with them. A lot of this is just admitting and clearing the gunk between you. Clearing that channel, clearing the static that's around your relationship. What else might you feel? Oh my God, I think everybody feels something different, don't they? And I think it's up to the individual. It's up to you to really sit and allow your emotions to come to the surface. What do you really feel about the person that's now died? You know, left the physical. How do you feel towards them now? Sadness is okay. I think sadness never felt to me to be a bad emotion, not a harmful emotion. Sadness is okay. But if it's sort of like anger or it's up to people to work out how they're feeling. But it's essential that you don't deny these feelings and to explore them, write about them. I don't know, shout, scream, talk about it, but just get the emotions out. It's okay to be angry, you know. It's okay to feel guilt, you know. It's okay to feel I don't know, whatever you want to put in there. But that's going to be the gunk which is blocking a clear channel. Yeah, so it's there was one point actually. I posted something today on the page, but forgot to actually put the picture out, which was stupid. It was the letter that I wrote to Christian about this time last year. Still thinking he was coming home. But I'd actually got to the point where I had released him from coming home. It's like you can't... that's another point, actually, that you can't demand that somebody in spirit gets in touch with you. You have to open by having intention and being like listening, being open, being childlike, being open to things around you, the subtle messages. You can't sit there and go, right, I've got my little picture, I've got my intention, right, now come through. It's obviously, you can't force this to happen. It might take an awfully long time to happen, gradually as you're building up your faith and trust in the like the telephone line, the channel. If you're demanding of someone, then that's, to me and to spirit, that's not unconditional love. Unconditional love is, yes, it's like understanding, forgiveness, compassion, empathy, and releasing somebody. You know, you have the intention to connect with somebody, and you are in a loving place. The ebook, the loving place, really, the ebook, you need to read and kind of get the idea behind that. But the faith and love needs to be sort of directed to the target, which is your loved one. But you can't force this to happen. I guess there's going to, you get to a point where if you're really desperate to make this connection, it's almost the need takes over. And if you have a need for something, it's often not given to you. You know, if you have a want, it's often not given to you. There's a blockage, you're trying to force stuff to happen. You're trying to control another person. even in spirit, trying to control somebody or something doesn't work. I tried to force Christian to get in touch with me. I guess that was what I was really doing. Of course it didn't work. The minute I cleared all the gunk between us through the understanding and forgiveness for, what's happened to us in the past, between us in the past, I did a little ritual, and I actually let him go. And I said, I can't force you to contact me, but all I can do is give you my love, this unconditional love, and then it's up to you. It's like that song, if you love somebody, let them go. It's true. And it releases, it's kind of, it stops you from, it's a very freeing thing to do. If it's like I became, I think in the letter I said I was like a lighthouse. My love, unconditional love was in my heart, and it would always shine, and it was like drawing him in rather than trying to chase him and force him to contact us or me. It was like, I'm here. I'm like a beacon, like this lighthouse and this love here is here. If you, I'm always here. I'm always here if you want to contact. And it was actually when I'd let go, and I'd opened up, I'd done all the focus, I'd done all the intent, cleared the channel, but I then had to let go and not force it and just let things happen naturally. I guess if you, I just suppose it depends on how your loved one passed over. There might be things that you desperately want answers about things, but actually Christian's saying it's more important for you who in the physical to work on yourself to reach that place of unconditional love for the person that you want to connect with. This unconditional love is incredibly powerful. Like draws spirit in. It happens naturally. It's like the seasons, Christian says. There's a time for doing, and there's a time for just being. There's a right time for your loved ones to contact you. But he's saying that doesn't mean that you can't try to contact people. You just have to have the intention, be open, and work on the static between you, clearing the static. I'll give you one example of how that will happen. The thing is, if you have intention and you're open, you will be given things to help you sort out that static. I remember I was driving, and I think Vanessa was standing in for Jeremy Vine on Radio 2. Jeremy Vine drives me insane, but Vanessa's fine. Anyway, she was talking to this man who'd been sent to boarding school, and he was talking about his experience, and I just burst into floods of tears, and I knew that much by then, that I needed to take notice of my tears. If something makes you cry, or suddenly makes you cry, suddenly makes you laugh, suddenly makes you do anything, concentrate on whatever that was, because it will be a clue to how to clear the channel. In this case, it was it was pretty obvious that when Christian started boarding, he had a lot of issues to deal with, bless him, and it made him close up a lot to he had to look after himself, which makes you a bit harder and a bit closed off. Part of you closes off, and that was something that I needed to learn on his behalf. I had to, that was part of how I understood some of his behaviour, and it made me just understand him. And I think understanding somebody, where they come from, having compassion and putting yourself in their shoes is hugely, hugely healing. And you usually see that their experiences have marked them somehow, and that then marks their relationships with in the future with anybody else. So yeah, that was probably a good example of being given guidance from Spirit to show me what needed to be sorted out between us on that, to sort the static out, I guess, just to clear the static. And then once you have that unconditional love in your heart, it's always there, and it's always just like a beacon attracting Spirit. That's all. That's really to say about it. But you can't demand. You can't. I mean, when we finished here, and you've set up your little table, and you've whatever you feel you're going to do, you can't just demand it of Spirit. It takes time to build the relationship. It's like the relationship still continues. Sorry, I'm just going to. Sorry, Caroline, I can't see on my comment. Courage, yes, absolutely. It does. So yeah, it's sort of deciding you can't force this relationship to. It's the relationship between you continues, but it's a very new relationship. It's on new terms. Christian said earlier, when you pass over, you review your life. You see, you understand everything. You can see it all very clearly. So, as Spirit, you've changed. And I think you in the physical have to change as well. You have to change your thoughts towards the person that's passed. You have to understand them. You have to understand why you're going to have lots of different feelings. It's going to be muddled. I'm pretty sure for everybody there's muddles of feelings, especially if it's a long illness. Maybe you feel guilty that suddenly you've been released from caring, maybe. So there's all sorts of different emotions that arise for everybody. It's always going to be different when you lose somebody, although loss is only an illusion, when you lose somebody from the physical, it's a massive change. And I think the relationship kind of takes time to settle. It takes time to readjust. And you have to know that from Spirit, they're coming from this place of unconditional love, Messages from Spirit are full of love. They only have love for us here in the physical. So really it's working on yourself to be able to create that clear connection. So it's having unconditional love on both sides. I think that's about it. And as Caroline's actually said, yes, courage is the most important of all virtues, which is very true. It does take courage. It takes courage on different levels. It takes courage to actually open your mind to thinking that your loved one is in spirit and able to be contacted. It takes courage to look at your relationship with your loved one in spirit, be honest about it, and be honest about how you feel, and to go through that process of understanding and forgiving and whatever you need to heal the relationship. So yeah, courage is a big thing. Is a big thing. But, you know, all the subtle, you just have to be open to all the subtle things you'll receive once you make your intention, and move into this cycle of love, loving thoughts. That's a really big point. But yes, that's all in the ebook. So anyway, I must go because it's now 10:30. Gosh, I didn't think that was going to take so long. I do apologise. These are long marathon ones. So, but I hope it's helpful to you. You can always ask any questions. Please do inbox me, message me, or leave a comment on here. But anyway, thank you very much for watching, and I hope that's helped in some way. I guess next week we're going to be talking a bit more about what goes on in spirit, but we'll see. Anyway, lots of love, and I'll see you next week. Bye.